Hi, my name is Jamie Bunting, and today I'm going to be talking about the country report that I'm doing for Comparable and International Education at SPC. And the country that I chose is Russia. I'll be talking about specific aspects of their country, such as their location, their history, their educational systems, teacher education, and then exactly how that compares to America's systems, educational systems. So to start off with, I'm going to talk about the location. And Russia is actually one of the largest countries in the world. It spans over 2 continents, Europe and Asia. Russia has an area of over 6.5 million square miles. Russia is so large it actually spans 10 time zones. So when it is noon in the western part of Russia, it is actually 10 o'clock at night in the east. It borders 13 different countries. And its population in 2016 was over 144 million people. Russia's geography changes greatly from place to place because it is so big. So there are high deserts in central Russia and then frozen glaciers near the Arctic Circle. The Arctic region of Russia is actually very cold, and much of it is actually permanently frozen over, covered with ice and snow. There are tall mountain ranges and long coastal line along that Pacific Ocean there. Since Russia is such a large country, each region has a completely and drastically different climate. Some cities can reach temperatures as low as 96 degrees below zero. And then Russia's summer season can bring warm and hot temperatures, sometimes reaching over 100 degrees in some regions. Now, to move on to Russia's history. So I'm going to begin with the ancient history of Russia. So the Slavs appeared in AD 800, which most of the ancestors, which the ancestors of most people in modern Russia were the Slavs had originally developed. So they were mainly farmers and traders, but they were also warriors. They spent most of their time fighting Vikings, which tried to invade from the west. And the most important thing to happen during the Slavs' rule was that their grand prince, Vladimir, became a Christian. So most of his kingdom also became Christians too. In AD 1237, the Mongols rode in from the east and conquered Russia. Ivan the Great put an end to the Mongol rule and became the first Tsar or king. In the 1600s, Ivan the Terrible came to rule, and it was known for a time of trouble where Russia had faced terrible civil wars. A few years later, a 16-year-old boy named Michael Romanov became the Tsar, or the king, and the Romanov family ruled for the next 300 years. This was a major accomplishment of this family, which it freed the serfs, or the slaves, that were in Russia at the time. When World War I began in 1914, things changed. Russian communists executed the Romanov family, and that created the Russian Revolution. These Russian communists were able to take control of many other countries, which then created the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union lasted for 74 years, but in 1991, the Soviet Union had finally collapsed, and a man named Boris took control of the government. The Soviet Union failed because, what do you think? It eventually ran out of money. And people were tired of living without things such as freedom of press and honest elections, as you could imagine. So 2 years later, the Soviet Union became the Russian Federation. The new Russia had seen quite a few problems in the past several years, but a good government can also create a bright future for Russia. The future of the democratic Russia lies in Putin's hands. Education. So, when looking at public schools, there are different types of public schools in Russia. They have lyceums, gymnasiums, and then just regular schools is what they call them. A lyceum is a school that specializes in mathematics or sciences. A gymnasium typically focuses on humanities, languages, or, the humanities, arts, or physical education. Regular schools are just that. They teach the basic courses. In order for a school to qualify for a lyceum or a gymnasium, they must have a certain number of highly qualified and certified teachers. Their test scores in specialized subjects must be high enough, and they must maintain that excellence and recertify their teachers frequently. Russian children attend school for at least 11 years, starting at the age of 6. The 11-year school term is split into elementary grades 1 through 4, middle, years 5 through 9, and senior, years 10 through 11. All of these grade levels actually are in one building. At the end of each grade, students must pass a test to move on to the next one. Russian schools do not have names. They are numbered. So some children might go to school 65, while others may go to school 9. Some schools in Russia require students to wear uniforms, while others do not. Most of the videos I saw, especially in elementary grades and the primary grades, the students are all wearing uniforms. When they get to their senior years, they start to become defiant, and most of them do not wear uniforms. Russian students do study math, Russian language and literature, English, music, PE, and art, very similar to America. After students complete their 8 years of study, then they are allowed to specialize in their studies. Some continue with the basics such as math, science, social studies, and so on, while others can choose a vocational route where they may learn a particular job or trade. Some of these include farming, automobile repair, welding, etc. To get into a university, Russian students have to pass entrance exams, and there are hundreds of universities in Russia. The most prestigious is Russian University in Moscow, their state university. There are also private universities available, which I found interesting for being such a communist country. Now, to move on to all right, teachers, to become a professional teacher in Russia, they go through first a 2 to 3 year study, and this is the initial stage for the teacher training. Graduates can then go on to study at higher educational institutions. So it's like taking that vocational route to become a teacher. Every 5 years, teachers have to participate in advanced training after they graduate from their university, and they then go on to specialized institutes or departments. After they've taught for several years, they can go on to advanced courses after the 5 years and train to become an assistant principal or principal. In 1992, the Ministry of Education organized 12 qualification groups in 4 categories that would reflect the teacher's professional level. These qualifications are assessed every 5 years by special commissions, and it involves 2 stages. A qualification test in the form of an examination or interview or a report or a defense project. An analysis of the teacher's lessons are reviewed, and then testing the student's knowledge. Then a call-in parent or student evaluation of the teacher's work is completed. The average teacher salary in Russia is 70,000 rubles, which is comparable to a teacher's salary in the U.S., is what I found out. As low as it is in the U.S. dollar, it is comparable to a teacher's salary in the U.S. Now, to compare Russia, what is their education systems like compared to America or the United States? Russia's schools are more similar than they are different. Students study similar subjects as the math, English. They actually have the specials, PE, music, and art. There is a gym and a cafeteria, just like American schools. And teachers are under the same amount of stress as you can imagine. You know, Russian students are very similar to American students. However, Russian schools are also very different. These are the major differences that I found out. They require students to attend school for 11 years, which is all in the same building. They don't name their schools, they number their schools, which was a big difference. And then once they reach grade 9, they have to take these major exams that the Russian government mandates And the results of this test can help parents make the decisions, okay, should I send my child to a college or university and continue to study with the basics, or should I send them to that vocational route where students can learn that job or a trade? At the end of the 11th grade, all students take those major exams. There are 2 tests that are required, which are Russian and mathematics. Students can elect to take additional tests that are preferred by their university that their university may require. For example, these tests can include chemistry, physics, English, language, etc. The better scores on these 11th grade exams, the less that students may actually have to pay for a university, with the top scores getting into universities for free sometimes. Another interesting note or distinct difference is that administrators of the school, which are the principals or assistant principals, they are required to teach at least 1 course in the school. Substitutes are not normal in Russia also. So say the assistant principal or principal has to cater to somebody, to another, something is calling their attention. They actually don't call in a substitute. They put out work for the students to do and to complete on their own, unsupervised, which is not an issue. Discipline and misbehavior is non-existent in Russian schools, which was one of the most fascinating differences that I found in when examining Russian schools compared to American schools. This is my report, my country report on Russia, all the interesting facts that I found out. I hope you enjoy. Take care.